Is Krystle Kaul. She is running in Virginia District 10, a very important district when it comes to Indian Americans. I think there's a lot of population of Indian Americans who live in this area. It's closer to Washington D.C., so obviously it's very important district when it comes to about choosing between national politics and influencing national politics, so to say. And it's become a more of a purple district, and that's what we've seen. Or the state itself, we have a governor from the Republican Party. But Crystal, welcome, and you're running in Virginia District 10. Wexton is retiring. That's kind of opened up an opportunity for other candidates to throw their hat in the ring. And I wanted to talk to you because you have an interesting background. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get into some of the questions that we have for you.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm Krystle Kaul. I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia District 10. I am running as a national security Democrat. I am, as you mentioned, yes, the district is a bit more purple, but it's definitely blue leaning, which is important to note. Jennifer Wexton has held the seat, for the past several years. And she, as many said, she had the seat for life. And due to, unfortunate health circumstances, which is very sad, she will not be rerunning. And so this is definitely going to stay a blue seat. Just to be clear. And so the district is comprised of Ashburn, Chantilly, Sterling, Dulles, Manassas, Warrenton, a little sliver of Fairfax. As you rightfully said, it is about 45 minutes from DC to an hour, depending on where you're going. So we are very close to the Capitol, which is very fitting as I see it right in your background. And you're absolutely right. It is a very diverse district. We have 44% minorities here. We have about 16% Asian. Of that, approximately about 10% Indian Americans. And so it is really rich in diversity. And we have 11% Latinos, for example. We've got almost 4% Italians. We have Native Americans, Thai. So it's one that I'm really proud to live in. I live in Ashburn, which is right in the heart of Loudoun County. I'm right by One Loudoun, and about almost like 40% of the population is here in Loudoun. And it's just great to see all the diversity when you walk into any establishment. And this is a place where the majority of the district are work in the defense space. So that hopefully gives you a little bit lay of the land and a bit of context in terms of the makeup.
Okay, now, so because we talked about the diversity in your district, right, in that you're running, so how do you plan to engage with these diverse communities in the district to ensure inclusiveness, right, and representation, I guess?
Yeah, well, I'm an Indian American. I am originally from New York, and I've been in the area for almost 22 years. I am half Kashmiri Pandit and half Punjabi. I am both Hindu and Sikh. And I think I represent the district really well in the fact that I'm a woman of color. This is a very female-friendly district. As we've seen, it's a district that has voted in a female into Congress for, I'd say, over a decade now.
Yeah.
And so the running joke here is that if there's a woman on the ballot, she's guaranteed the vote. And I think I'm really proud of that, because we definitely live in a district that really celebrates women. And I think that there's a call for a woman of color now to come in, because like I mentioned, again, all of the rich diversity that we have here as well. And so I think that I would represent people from a gender standpoint, from in terms of my Indian American heritage, and then also just as a small business owner and coming from the defense world. And so, and I can talk a little bit about that. I was with Department of Defense for many years. I was a contractor for many large companies such as Deloitte, Booz Allen Hamilton, General Dynamics IT, Lido. So these are like the really big defense contractors, always on the federal consulting side. I've worked with many three-letter agencies, including the CIA, including DIA, Air Force. And I had the opportunity to go work at U.S. Central Command during a time of war, and I was on the ISIS crisis cell. And that is when we were kinetic. We were actually dropping drone strikes in Syria and Iraq. So that was a was a really exciting time to be at CENTCOM and to be able to protect the homeland, and a very unique time. I worked with Secretary Austin, and he was at the time General Austin, who was running U.S. Central Command, and today is our Secretary of Defense.
Right.
I also was a senior government official with the DoD. So I came in as a GS-15, which is the highest civilian rank that one can receive. And I worked with the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, which handles weapons of mass destruction. So if you're familiar with the Manhattan Project, that is how this agency stemmed from. And there I worked with Secretary Mattis, who is arguably one of the most celebrated secretaries of defense in our history. And so I have the unique honor of working with two secretaries of defense and proudly serving our country in the national security defense space.
Okay, let's move to your background, Krystle. You'd mentioned you are half Sikh and half Punjabi. I'm assuming you are, well, I shouldn't say I'm assuming, you are an Indian American, right? That's what you identify as. I see the big
Of
bindi.
course.
Uh,
Yes.
so, how did your upbringing as an Indian American, shape your values and commitment towards public service?
Yeah. Well, so it's a good question. When I was 5, it was 1989. That was the year of the exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits. And I was very interested at that time in understanding what was occurring on in Kashmir. So it was at a very young age, I got introduced to the concept of terrorism, the concept of fundamentalism. And I was a child with a lot of conviction, and I grew up to be an adult with a great deal of conviction. And I embarked on a path to really understand counterterrorism, countering insurgency, before I think a lot of these became even major trends. And then I think that was solidified with obviously the 9/11 attack, because I'm
Hmm.
from New York and I grew up in Long Island, and that was very close to home. And I left New York when I was 17. I came down to Washington, D.C. to study at American University. And there I studied international relations. I minored in women in politics, and I was very interested in peace and conflict resolution and understanding conflict areas in national security and defense. And at the age of 19, I was part of a Washington leadership program, which was a starter program for young South Asian Americans around the country to get their feet wet in politics. And so I was selected, and I worked for Congressman Marty Meehan from Massachusetts. And so I was actually working at Capitol Hill, and I would give tours of Capitol Hill that I'm seeing right behind you. And so I know very random facts, like the Statue of Freedom that stands on top of the hill is 19 feet 6 inches. And I I got a great foray into what it's actually like um, to um, to work in a congressional office. Granted, I was an intern and I was 19, but I think it was great to be able to open constituent mail to see what legislative assistants do, what legislative directors do, how the member votes, what all goes on in the apparatus in a member's office. So I'm not blind to any of it. I'm going in with my eyes wide open, and I know what all's entailed on a day-to-day basis. And I furthered my studies at Johns Hopkins University. I was at the School of International Studies, where I focused again on international relations, on conflict management. I had a dual South Asia and Middle East regional focus, and there I focused on Kashmir and Israel Palestine. And then I went on to Brown University, where I embarked on my PhD in political science. And I did field work in Kashmir. I was the first ever to go from a U.S. institution to actually take interviews there, in the field of political science. And I lived in Srinagar. I went to refugee camps like Perku and Nagrota. I interviewed MPs in New Delhi, and I really got a 360 comprehensive view of not just what happened, but also what was on the ground. And the primary source data was so critical to understanding that. And then I started my whole career with my clearance and getting into to DoD. And simultaneously, throughout my studies and also in between programs, I worked for several think tanks, such as Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. It was their Middle East Center for the Woodrow Wilson Center for International Scholars in their dialogue department, and the Center for Strategic International Studies in their South Asia Center. So I had a really good entry into academia and public policy as well, that I was always very into what's relevant and what's current, what's going on in terms of U.S.-India relations, looking at a post-U.S.-India nuclear deal era that we live in. And I worked for RAND Corporation. I led studies there for the Special Operations Forces, looking at places such as Afghanistan and Pakistan, and how the Army operates. So I think that my mixed background of defense, academia, public policy, which has led me today to, I'm currently a small business owner. I have a defense technology company, as you rightly said. I do have a strong background in cybersecurity because a lot of the DoD threats tend to be in the cyberspace. Smart cities, IoT, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I mean, these are all of the core areas where we have invested a lot of resources in the tech industry, because that's where we're seeing a lot of the emerging threats. And what I do is I help these companies align with agencies where they can apply their solutions to further the DoD's mission.
What would you do for the people in Virginia Tech? Like, what are some of the issues that you're running on and you want people to vote for you?
I have a versatile background. I'm a small business owner. I'm a teacher. I've been a defense contractor, and I've been a senior defense official. That combined background helps me understand issues here from multiple lenses. So my core issues that I want to look at in District 10 are education, healthcare, and public safety. Education first and foremost. I think you have to invest in your youth. You have to invest in the next generation. I know that intimately well, having spent a great deal of years in academia, in think tanks, and currently teaching now. There is room for improvement here to help with skills training for teachers, to invest more resources in our schools in VA10. I understand the issues of affordable, accessible healthcare because I'm a small business owner. And I went from working for large companies to mid-sized to now having to get insurance as a small business owner. And so, when I get sick, I start to get nervous. What is my bill going to look like? And what's my deductible? And it is a real problem. We have a system that really does need to be reformed, because a lot of people in this district here, like myself, we're all small business owners, and we should be able to have affordable, accessible healthcare. And we shouldn't have to worry about high prescription medications and how much it'll cost to go see a specialist. But if we need to be able to have that access. And so I'm a firm believer that something needs to be done in that regard. And then public safety. I mean, that really stems very core to who I am. I come from a national security background, and I firmly believe that a safer America starts with a safer district. So I think we have to have safe neighborhoods, safe schools, know that our children are safe, and really be able to, have that peace of mind when you're living in your community. So those are some things that I stand pretty firm on. I'm a big women's rights advocate. I think that goes without saying. And I'm also very committed to protecting the environment. So those just are a few things that I wanted to highlight. And I think what really sets me apart in this primary election, again, it's an open seat, but we have the primary, it's on June 18th, is that I have lived and walked the shoes of the majority of the people in VA10. Most people here in my district are either defense contractors, are defense civilians, a small business owner with a defense contract, military, veteran. That is the makeup of, you could arguably say, over 90% of the people here. So I have walked their shoes. I have lived their life. I understand the challenges with a pending potential government shutdown. Government officials come back to a job, and contractors can often get cut. This is a real concern. I know this. I've been a contractor myself. I've lived through a furlough myself. So I get it, and I understand it in a very real way. And I think that my background is very relatable and one that comes from a place of compassion and empathy and real understanding of the entire system and apparatus that exists here in VA10. And it's very specific and unique to VA10. So I'm really proud that I've had the opportunity to serve here for so many years. I'm a national security Democrat. I fall under an umbrella title that several members of Congress have similar backgrounds. There are about 9 members that come from a national security and a defense space. For example, Abigail Spanberger, she used to work for the CIA, and she's currently running for governor.
Yeah.
So similarly, I come from that defense security world. That is a story that is very respected here, and what people understand. Women in defense is something that I think people really are proud of. Something I'm really proud of, and who I know that many of my colleagues and people who I look up to, like Abigail Spanberger, really hold very true to themselves.
Okay. One last question before I let you go. I know we're on time here. How do you see the Indo-US relationship? I mean, the relationship has grown from strength to strength, but just, if you were elected, what would you see, or how would you contribute towards that relationship?
Yeah, that hits very close to home. As I said, I've done a lot of work on U.S.-India relations. I did study under Ashley Tellis when I was at Johns Hopkins University. I wrote my paper on the U.S.-India nuclear deal. And like I said, I've worked for several think tanks on this. Most recently, I was in New Delhi for the Business 20 Summit. And I also got to attend some of the functions around the G20 summit, which was a super exciting time to be in New Delhi. You had U.S. embassy officials there, a lot of White House officials, and so it was a great time to see a lot of that change. I think that one trend that I saw come out was bridging the skills gap between U.S. and India. India is very strong as the fastest growing economy in the world in terms of IT skills. And there's a lot of opportunities for Indian companies to work with US companies and to help with IT solutions, to help with AI/ML, with smart cities, IoT, algorithms, tech platforms, a lot of these things. And so I saw a lot of that and these very natural alliances and alignment to occur between our industries, and even support to just to furthering, I'd say, the U.S. Government as well, because of what India has to offer. And so there were some really great discussions that existed there in regards to the U.S.'s active effort on chips, and how we can work together. So I think that it's only positive. I think Prime Minister Modi is making a lot of great headway, and there's definitely room for more growth, and there's room to further solidify the relationship between U.S. and India in trade, in defense, in business, across the board. So I'm really excited to see what's to come, and I am a big advocate of these two countries coming together and just building a much stronger bond.
All right. Thank you so much, Krystle. Good luck with the primaries. I know you said that the primaries on June 6th, is it? June
18th.
18th.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll just emphasize again. So June 18th is the primary. The general election is November 5th. I would love support from the community. I'm gaining great national support from all around the country. I have had a really successful last quarter. And so currently, according to press releases, I have the most of any candidate currently announced in terms of campaign funds, and I'm really excited to be entering into Q1 now, as we are racing to this primary. So I ask all of you to please support. You can find me at krystleforcongress.com. That's KrystleForCongress.com. Please reach out to me. You can email me at krystleforcongress.com. And I'd love to hear from you. And I'm really excited by the outpouring of support that I've received, not just from Virginia, but also from New York, California, Georgia, Texas, Florida, from all over the country. So I really have had people come out and they're really excited because as a community, we need representation. And as an Indian American community, we need a voice. And I think that where we are, we really proud of the 5 members we have in Congress. I think we can do more. I think we can have more representatives. And we need more female representation. We have only 1 Indian American woman in Congress. And I'm very proud to say that today I'm one of only 2 Indian American women running for Congress in this country. And I have a volunteer team with several young Indian American girls who are really inspired and who want to enter into politics. And I love that that they're excited about this race and that they can come in and from all over the country, and they are really committed to help me win. So thank you for your time, Rohit, and I appreciate it.
Well, no, thank you. I know you have a busy schedule. Look forward to speaking with you again, and
Thank
good
you.
luck with all the events with all the campaigning. Thank you so much.